Frank has a retirement account. It's small, like embarrassingly small. Like if his retirement account were a sandwich, it would be one slice of bread. Not even the good bread, the heel. Frank is 54 years old. He makes more money than he has ever made in his life. And somehow, every month he checks his bank account and there's just nothing. Like a magician did a trick, but the trick was stealing Frank's future. No rabbit, no hat. Just an empty table and a bill from the electric company. The thing is, Frank knows what he's supposed to do. Save, invest, stop spending. But every time he tries, something comes along and picks his pocket. And the worst part? Most of the time, he's the one doing the picking. He's pickpocketing himself, in broad daylight, while looking in the mirror. So Frank sat down one Saturday, poured a cup of coffee, got out a notepad, and made a list. 11 things he has to sacrifice if he wants to retire before he's too old to enjoy it. They're not complicated. They're just hard, because every single one of them is something he likes, something he's used to, something that feels like it belongs to him. But Frank figured something out. You can keep all of it and work until you're 74, tired, sore, sitting in traffic at an age when you should be sitting in a lawn chair. Or you can let some of it go and sit on your porch at 60 with nothing to do and nowhere to be. 11 sacrifices? That sounds painful. It is. Every single one. But you know what's more painful? Working until your body quits before your mortgage does. Frank doesn't want that. Neither do you. Here's the list. Number 1. Stop bailing out your adult kids. Frank loves his kids. He does. He would throw himself in front of a bus for them. But he would not throw his 401k in front of a bus for them. And right now, that's exactly what he's doing. Nearly 3 out of 4 parents are handing their grown kids around $7,000 a year. $7,000! That's not lunch money. That's a used car. Every single year. Frank is basically buying a Honda Civic and lighting it on fire in the driveway 12 months at a time. Frank's daughter needed help with rent. Okay. Frank's son needed a new laptop for work. Fine. Frank's other kid needed a plane ticket and a deposit and groceries and a phone bill, and suddenly Frank is running a charity and the charity has no funding left for its own founder. But they're my kids. I can't just say no. You can. You have to. There are loans for college. There are programs for housing. There are ways to figure it out. But there is no loan for retirement. No bank on earth is going to hand Frank a check when he's 70 and say, "Here, go live your life." That check doesn't exist unless Frank writes it himself. Starting now. Number 2. Sell the big house. Frank has 4 bedrooms. 2 of them have been empty for 6 years. One is a guest room that hasn't had a guest since 2019. The other is a home office where Frank goes to look at his phone and think about doing something productive. He's paying property taxes on rooms full of air, insurance on square footage that hasn't seen a human footprint in months, utility bills to heat space that nobody walks into between October and March. That house is a money furnace. Frank keeps shoveling cash into it, and all he gets back is a bigger yard to mow. But I raised my family in that house. You can't put a price on memories. You're right, you can't. But you can put a price on property taxes and insurance and that water heater that's about to die. Downsizing isn't giving up. It's letting go of a building so you can keep your freedom. That equity trapped inside those walls goes straight into your retirement accounts the day you sell. Frank doesn't need a big house. Frank needs a big balance. What if the kids want to come home for Christmas? They can sleep on the pullout. They'll survive. Number 3. Let go of the new car habit. Frank likes a nice truck. He does. He likes the way it smells. He likes how it looks in the driveway. He likes the way it makes him feel like a person who has things figured out. But that truck costs him $500 a month for 5 years. That's $30,000 gone, vanished into a machine that loses value every single time he turns the key. A brand new truck loses 20% of its value the second Frank drives it off the lot. He hasn't even made it home yet, and he's already lost $6,000. If Frank put that same money into an index fund, in 10 years it would be closer to $50,000. Frank is trading his retirement for a vehicle that's going to be worth $8,000 by the time it's paid off. That's not a purchase. That's a slow donation to a car dealership. But you want me to drive a beater? I've worked my whole life. I deserve something nice. Nobody said beater. Frank just needs to drive what he's got until the wheels wobble. Buy used. Pay cash. Stop caring what it looks like parked next to the neighbor's Lexus. The neighbor's Lexus is also financed. The neighbor is also broke. You're both standing in your driveways admiring machines you don't actually own. Frank wrote all of this down, the car math, the house equity, the kid money, all of it, on actual paper, in one place. That document is called the retirement file. It's in the description. It has a budget template, a debt audit, a spending breakdown. Every uncomfortable number Frank had to face, there's a line for it. You don't have to figure out the format. Frank already did that part. You just have to fill it in. Number 4, say no to some of the caregiving. This one is harder. Frank's mom needs help around the house. His dad needs rides to the doctor 3 times a month. His kids still call with problems that feel urgent, but aren't. Frank is stuck in the middle of everybody else's life, and nobody is standing in the middle of his. Gen X is the sandwich generation, squeezed between aging parents who need more and adult children who aren't quite there yet. And the numbers are rough. 16% of caregivers quit their jobs entirely to take care of a parent. Another 27% cut their hours. That's income and time and compound interest that never comes back. Average guy, so you're saying I should just abandon my mother? No. Frank is saying you should stop doing it all by yourself. Get your siblings on the phone. Look into community programs. Hire help if you can, even a few hours a week, because you can't pour from an empty cup, and you definitely can't retire from an empty retirement account. If Frank burns himself down at 55 taking care of everybody else, there's nobody left to take care of Frank at 70. He'll be the one who needs the rides to the doctor, and there won't be gas money left for the trip. Number 5, cut the subscriptions and the streaming. Frank has 6 streaming services. He watches 2 of them. He has a gym membership he hasn't used since January 4th. He has a meal kit service that sends him boxes of ingredients he stacks in the fridge until they go bad. He has 3 apps charging him monthly for features he forgot existed 6 months ago. Each one feels small. $15 here, $20 there. It's just a coffee. It's just one lunch. Except when Frank adds all of it up, he's spending $300 a month on things he doesn't open, doesn't watch, and doesn't use. That's $3,600 a year. That's nearly a full IRA contribution walking out the door every year in $15 increments. Death by 1,000 tiny charges. Frank's bank statement looks like a ransom note from Silicon Valley. Average guy, I need my streaming. It's the only thing keeping me sane. You don't need 6 of them. You need 1, maybe 2. The rest are just sitting on your phone, eating your money like termites in a wall. You can't see the damage until the floor caves in. Average guy, but what if I want to watch something on Peacock one random Tuesday night? Then sign up for 1 month. Watch it, cancel it. You're not married to these services. They're not loyal to you. They raised their prices 3 times and didn't even send a text. Cancel what you don't use every single week. If you haven't opened it in 30 days, it's gone. Number 6. Stop eating out so much. Frank used to cook. He was decent at it, too. He made a solid chili, could handle a pot roast. His pasta wasn't half bad. But somewhere along the way, Frank started ordering everything. DoorDash on Monday, takeout on Wednesday, restaurant on Friday. That's an extra $500, $600 a month going toward food he could have made at home for the quarter of the price. And the delivery fees alone could fund a small vacation. Average guy, but I'm tired. I worked all day. I don't want to stand in a kitchen. Frank is tired too. Everybody's tired. But being tired now and being broke later is a worse kind of tired. The kind that lasts 20 years and doesn't come with a menu. Cooking at home isn't punishment. It's just math. A chicken, some rice, and a bag of vegetables will feed you for 3 days and cost you $12. That same meal at a restaurant costs $45 and comes with a tip and a parking fee. Save the restaurants for birthdays and anniversaries. The other 395 nights a year, you know where the stove is. It hasn't moved. Frank made a page for this, the subscription audit, the grocery line, the dining out column. It's in the retirement file. One page where you write down every recurring charge and every food dollar, add them up, and look at the total. Frank did it on a Sunday. The total was upsetting. That's the point. The retirement file's in the description. Print it. Fill it in. The total will probably be upsetting for you too. That's still better than not knowing. Number 7. Give up the vacations you can't afford. Frank went to Cancun last year. It cost him $4,000. He put half of it on a credit card. He's still paying interest on margaritas he drank 10 months ago. And if you ask Frank what he remembers about the trip, he'll tell you the pool was decent and the food was okay. $4,000 of okay. You don't have to go to Europe every summer. You don't have to take the family to Disney every year so they can stand in line for 3 hours in 90-degree heat. A cabin 2 hours away costs a fraction of what a resort does. A road trip costs gas money and a bag of beef jerky. A weekend at a state park costs almost nothing. Average guy, so I'm just supposed to sit home and stare at the wall until I'm 65? No, you're supposed to stop spending money you don't have on trips you won't remember in detail. The memories don't care how much you spent. Your kids aren't going to bring up the thread count on the hotel sheets. They're going to remember that you were there and you were laughing. Number 8. Walk away from lifestyle creep. Every time Frank got a raise, he spent more. First apartment to a nicer apartment to a house to a bigger house, new car every 3 years, nicer clothes, better restaurants, organic everything, a subscription for the dog. That's why Frank makes more money than he ever has and still feels like he's running on a treadmill, because every dollar that came in went right back out the door wearing a slightly nicer jacket than the last one. Frank's income went up by 40% over the last decade. His savings went up by 0. He upgraded everything except his future. The sacrifice is learning to live on what you made 10 years ago. Not because life should feel like punishment, because the gap between what you earn and what you spend is the only thing that builds a retirement. If there's no gap, there's no future. Frank has to create that gap on purpose and then guard it like it's the last parking spot at Costco on a Saturday. Average guy, but I earned this lifestyle. I worked hard for it. You worked hard for the paycheck. The lifestyle just showed up and started spending it for you. There's a difference. One of them builds something, the other one just looks good while it disappears. Average guy, so I got a raise for nothing? No, you got a raise so you could save it, not upgrade your lifestyle. Bank the difference, every single time. That's how people retire before their knees give out, not by making more money, by keeping more of it. Number 9, stop keeping appearances. Frank grew up watching his parents display what they had. The nice lawn, the right car, the good neighborhood, the clothes with the right labels. And Frank took notes. He's been following that playbook his entire adult life. He still buys things so other people will see them and think he's doing well. The kitchen remodel nobody asked for, the patio furniture that sits in the rain, the shoes he wears once and puts back in the box. Nobody at Frank's funeral is going to mention his countertops. Nobody is giving a eulogy about his driveway. They're going to talk about who he was, what he said, how he made them feel. Not one word about the backsplash. Average guy, but people notice these things. They judge you. Let them. They're judging you from inside a house they can't afford either. Half the people you're trying to impress are running the same act you are, spending money they don't have to look like they have money they don't need to spend. It's a performance, and everybody in the audience is also performing. Nobody's watching, everybody's acting. Let it go, all of it. Your ego will sting for a month, maybe 2. Then it heals. Your bank account, that takes years to fix. Frank sat down and did this exact exercise. He went through every expense, every line, every place money was going to look like something instead of building something. He put it all in one document, the retirement file. It's in the description. There's a monthly budget template, a spending audit, and a gap calculator. The gap between what you earn and what you save. Frank filled his in. The gap was bigger than he wanted it to be, but at least he knew what it was. Knowing is how you fix it. Number 10. Accept that you might work a side job for a while. Almost half of Gen Xers say they plan to keep working in some form during retirement. That's not failure, that's just the math talking. But Frank can get ahead of it. If he starts something small right now, a side hustle, freelance work, selling stuff online, fixing things for people, consulting in his field, and puts every single dollar of that extra income into savings, he can shave real years off his timeline. Not fantasy years, real ones, measurable ones. Average guy, a side hustle? I'm 53 years old. I'm not doing dances on the internet. Nobody asked you to dance. Walk dogs. Sell the junk in your garage. You know you have junk in your garage. Everybody does. Tutor a kid in math. Fix somebody's deck. Referee a youth league on weekends. Do something small, something that pays real money, and funnel every cent of it into your retirement account. Not into a new TV, not into a weekend trip, into the account. Average guy, that sounds exhausting. I'm already working full time. It is, for a while. But Frank would rather be tired now with a plan than tired later without one. Your pride will take a hit. It'll recover. Your empty retirement account does not recover on its own. It just sits there, being empty, collecting dust and disappointment. Number 11. Give up the idea that you'll figure it out later. This is the big one, the real sacrifice, the one that costs you the most if you keep dodging it. Gen X started saving at 32 years old on average. That's 10 years later than Gen Z's starting right now. 10 years of compound interest lost. 10 years of growth that never happened. 10 years of something becoming nothing. The average Gen X 401k balance is sitting around $222,000. Sounds like a number, maybe even a decent number. It's not. Americans say they need about $1.46 million to retire comfortably. That's a gap of over $1 million. You don't close that gap by thinking about it really hard. You close it by doing something about it. Average guy, I'll get serious about it next year. I just need to get through this year first. That's what you said last year, and the year before that, and 5 years before that one. Later has been your answer for 2 decades, and later just showed up. It's right here. It's standing in the room. It's holding a calculator, and the calculator says you're behind. The biggest sacrifice on this list isn't the house, it isn't the car, it isn't the streaming services or the vacations or the pride. The biggest sacrifice is saying it out loud. I'm behind. I didn't save enough. I spent too much. And then doing something about it today. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not after the holidays, not when things settle down. Things never settle down. You know that by now. You've been alive long enough to know that there's always another thing, another bill, another emergency, another reason to wait. Average guy, but what if it's too late? It's not too late, it's just later than you wanted it to be. Frank's list doesn't fix everything overnight. It's not magic, it's a grind. But it's a grind that leads somewhere, instead of a grind that leads to a cubicle at 72. Frank is tired. He's been tired for a long time. But Frank is also done pretending everything is fine while the numbers say something different. He made his list. He's crossing things off, starting at the top, one sacrifice at a time. The only question left is whether you're going to make yours. Frank made a document for this. It has every line from this video laid out as a working audit. The spending, the debt, the savings gap, the monthly budget, the whole thing. It's called the retirement file. Link is in the description. Frank filled his out on a Saturday morning with cold coffee and a pen that was almost out of ink. He finished it. The numbers were uncomfortable. He slept better that night than he had in months. Not because the numbers were good, because he finally knew what they were. Thanks for watching. Frank will see you in the next video.